introduction, for having us today. So good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you all for joining us and, investing your time in learning something new today. My name is Nazanin and I'm the Assistant Branch Manager at RBC. So as Keisha mentioned, we have a very close partnership with ACCES Employment, to the point that we work together to help our community, and we really, really value just this relationship. We're excited to be here today. As just Keisha mentioned, we have a very, very special guest today. We are honored to have Detective Martin Franssen, Durham Regional Police, who has dedicated his time to be here today to talk about fraud and awareness prevention. It's a very important topic today. Martin gonna talk about the fraud and how you can protect yourself. Like as the world is moving to digital, there are even more ways for scammers to deceive us. And so I wish that I could join a webinar like this when I came to Canada, like back in 14 years ago, because I actually had fallen victim to fraud myself, and I learned the hard way. So that's why we're here today, to provide you with some tips and guidance to help you get the better understanding of how fraud happens in Canada and how you can protect yourself. We have also our lovely support team on the line. We have Farah Mohammed, we have Felipe Boada, our banking advisors, and we're gonna hear from them very shortly. So here's the agenda of the day. So what we have for you today. We already heard from ACCES. So next I'm gonna go over RBC purpose and vision, and from there I'm going to talk about RBC values. So to get to know RBC as an organization, and then I'm gonna introduce our team. So next we're going to get into the main presentation. So it will be a lot to cover today, so lots of great takeaways. So be ready to take lots of notes, because Martin gonna go through different topics about fraud, and he's gonna share so many amazing tips and advice. And at the end we are going to get into the Q&A. As Keisha just mentioned, please feel free to enter your questions in the chat box on the right bottom corner, and we gladly get back to you at the end of the presentation. Awesome. So before we get to Martin, our main speakers today, I'm gonna just quickly cover and talk about RBC. As a proud RBCers, I would like to talk about RBC. As you can see on the screen, so RBC purpose is helping clients thrive and communities prosper. And our vision is to be among the world's most trusted and successful financial institution. So RBC has around 86,000 employees. So we all are guided by one set of values. So first is client first. We always earn the right to be a client's first choice. So second is collaboration. We win as RBC, we are partners, and we work together as one RBC to make sure our clients are coming to prosper. So the other one is accountability. So we take our ownership for personal and collective high performance. Diversity and inclusion, which is very important for us as we embrace diversity for innovation and growth. So we speak up for inclusion, empower people to grow and achieve more. And I think that's why we are such a successful and strong organization. And the last but not the least is integrity. So we hold ourselves to the highest standard to build trust. So now just a little bit about my team. So we are actually advice giving branch. We truly believe in newcomers, helping newcomers. And that's how we created warm and welcome virtual environment. So we are newcomer specialist team to help our newcomers on their journey each step of the way. And so we have a very great team that I work with. So as you can see, we have a small team. But newly extended team actually is called RBC Virtual Newcomer Specialist Team, including Jeff Price, our Community Market Manager, Ria Ragbir, Farah Mohammed, and Felipe Boada, all our digital banking advisors. So as I said, Farah and Felipe recently joined us today, and they're here on the line to support us. And I really couldn't do this without my team support. So this is just a core team, but it's not an entire team. And along with that, we have an extensive support team that we work all together. As I said, as a RBC, we all help from throughout GTR ranging from different departments and branches and neighboring markets. And here on the next slide, is about our community partners. So we are not able to do this on our own. So we have a wide range of community partners. So grateful for our community partners like ACCES Employment, who has been a key partners throughout this journey, because together we can reach out more and have those meaningful connections to make a greater impact. And on the next slide, this is just an examples of how we creatively came out with different type of workshops before the COVID. So we were able to create awareness throughout our events, our community involvement to make your journey in Canada as a newcomer as easy as possible. And as you can see on the screen, so as of March 2020, so we shifted all virtual, and we've done all of our advice even virtually, like today. And these are some of the examples of our advice event we've done, including workshop like fraud prevention, like today, HR tips and tricks, rule discovery, tax advice event, to just name a few. Awesome. So that was just a little bit about our team and RBC. So now I would like to hand it over to Detective Martin Franssen, Durham Regional Police. So everyone, please welcome Martin. Thank you so much, Martin, for volunteer your time today to be here. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you for ACCES and all those community partners for doing such a great job that you do. And very much thank you for allowing me to be here today. I really appreciate it. Welcome to all those newcomers to Canada at whatever stage of your journey that you're on. And congratulations to each and every one of you. Welcome to Canada, the beautiful country that it is. Unfortunately, Canada, for whatever reasons, is often, and Canadians are often, a target for victimization when it comes to fraud. There's a lot of money involved in it. Somebody out there wants it, but it's yours, and it's yours to keep if you protect yourself. And unfortunately, it's very, very important that you take steps to protect yourself and ultimately your loved ones through that. First thing I want to bring up is not in the deck, but if you could go to the first slide there, and just a quick little title, no big deal. Just pop through the first two, if you would, please. Something that is very important that's going on currently, is big problem, folks, is what we call the emergency scam. I will talk briefly on it in hopes that you will realize how important it is to protect yourself and your family. Emergency scam generally is where someone will call on this telephone, usually at a terrible time of the day, early in the morning kind of thing, 2 a.m., and lead you to believe that there is an emergency related to a family. Often what happens with newcomers is a different twist to that. The emergency is that it is immigration calling, and that if you fail to pay immediately, then you're going to get deported. And because of the way some structures are around the world with replacing, that can put a lot of fear into you. Be it known that in Canada, it doesn't work that way. You're not going to get called and threatened. The government and government employees are not going to threaten you with deportation. It's a process. It's a legal process. It takes time. They're not going to demand that you pay cash up front. They're not going to insist that you go to a variety store, a Shoppers Drug Mart, Home Depot, and buy gift cards and prevent that money, that hard-earned money that is so important to the stability of yourself and your family, and demand that you pass them that information, whether it be over the telephone or electronically. It just isn't going to happen, folks. To protect you and your family, it is very important to consider what I call a safety word or safety phrase. A lot of people have that when their children are extremely young. A great practice. So if a stranger were to come up to them, try to engage with them, try to take the child away from, let's say, the school ground, if that word is not used, or that phrase, let it be apple trees in the garden, is the family phrase. The child doesn't hear that. You teach them to run away and go seek an adult for security, an appropriate adult, or run to safety. We tend, as the children get older, to forget that. Let's get back to doing that. It's extremely important, and it's a very good way of protecting your family members. Have it for all ages, whether they're 2 or whether they're 102. It really makes no difference. If you get that call, family member supposedly in dire need at 2 in the morning, ask them for that security, that password. If they don't give it, they're probably going to hear a lot of dead air, and they're going to hang up on you. You just saved yourself from being victimized, and you've protected not only yourself, your financial well-being, but your family. Very, very key thing. It's a big problem right now because that particular fraud, the emergency fraud, and associated to that is the claim of immigration is just seems to be very, very strong right now. So keep that in mind. Keep it quiet amongst your family members, those loved ones that are really important to you. And when you're picking one, pick something that is unique to you. Maybe a favorite holiday, maybe the city that you grew up in, or your favorite restaurant on that city that only your family is going to know about. Not a stranger would be able to figure it out. Enough on that, just to give you an idea how strong it is. Unfortunately, in Canada, in the year 2021, during COVID, imagine, during all that lockdown, Canadians reported losing over $379 million. That is not anywhere near reflective of the actual losses. That is just where people took the time to call the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center and report. $379 million, folks. You don't want $1 of that to come from your pocket, and you don't deserve that, of course. Nobody deserves that. Can you pop to the next slide, please? Identity fraud is the number one. It continues to be where somebody steals your identity. When you start to work in Canada, or you're over the age of 16, well, any age actually, but legal age for working is the age of 16, you will apply for what's called a social insurance number. That number is 9 digits. If it starts with a 9, it means that you're here on a visa, a work visa, and it's a temporary. But if you have any other, the first digit tells me the province you're in, but if you have any number from 1 to 8, it means that you're a permanent resident or Canadian citizen. You will only be issued that number once in your lifetime. You will not get a replacement number. You must keep that close to you. You must protect that, because if I get that number, I can get a whole bunch of information related to your finances, or I can pretend to be you for things like a bank loan, going to RBC. I have that number, I have other elements of your identification, and then I apply for a loan that you would know nothing about. So do not share that number with anybody, hide it. You must present it when you're going to a financial institution for the first time, like RBC, and you want to open up an account. Yes. When you go to your employer and you start work, you must provide it. Yes. That's it. Don't carry the number in your pocket. Don't have it written down on a plastic card in your pocket. Hide it in your home somewhere safe. It reduces identity fraud. As you see on there, there's a lot of people suffering each year for identity. Be careful when you fill out forms. May they be for a cell phone, may they be for a loan, mortgage, whatever the case. Make sure that the information you're given is protected. If you go to somewhere like RBC and they ask you for information, they are required by law to protect that information. And you can be assured that they will do that for you. Not necessarily the corner store or other organizations. So be careful. You do not have to share your social insurance number when applying for a cell phone. Very important to realize. Right? You don't want that number, and you don't want your identity and your personal information in the wrong place. If your next slide, the next big thing is that the world of investments. A lot of investment money currently is lost through cryptocurrency. That's a whole different conversation. To me, it's like buying air. It doesn't exist. It's not tangible. You can't see it. And its only value is whatever people decide they want to make a value out of it. So today, you know, it got as high, Bitcoin is 76,000. It's sitting about 48,000 now. So there's people have lost money in it. But that's one of the investment woes. It's troublesome. Romance is always troublesome. Again, that can be a whole subject of conversation. And it's basically online dating for all intents and purposes. If you're not sure or you haven't heard of romance scam, turn to one of your young people and ask them about catfishing, because they'll probably be able to explain that to you. Because catfishing is for the young folks, romance scam is for the more mature people. Same premise, if you would. The reasons why it's done: romance is going for your pocket, whereas catfishing, unfortunately, is usually more of a psychological bullying type situation. So you want to be very careful of both those. Next slide, please. I'm sure you all recognize these devices. Maybe not the top one on the left there, the home telephone. It might be in a museum you might have to go to see nowadays. They're almost a rare animal, but they do exist out there. Some people have it. However, that cell phone device does exist. It is no longer a device or has no longer become a device for communication. But that's what it was invented for. It made it possible for people in Canada to reach out to their family members in another country. Interesting enough that if you, in the days gone by, when the phone rang, if you weren't home, they'd call back. If you left work, they couldn't get a hold of you. They got a hold of you when you got to work the next day. But today, it's taken on a whole different view. This is no longer just a means of communication. It is your keeper of information that we used to use multiple things for: address book, birthday record, photo albums. It's all in here. You can check out the web while trying to figure out where you're driving, hopefully never at the same time, i.e. driving and checking out the web's never a good thing. But where's the local Tim's? Where's the local shoe store? Whatever the case may be, on your telephone. At one time, you'd go to a book, you'd look up phone numbers, you try to figure it on a map, big piece of paper maybe, where you needed to go and sort yourself. It's all in your hands. So what's happening, if you next slide, there's some people that cannot allow it to leave their hands, and they will, believe it or not, take it to the shower with them. I've never figured out why, when washing your hair, there's a need to respond to a text message. I don't understand that. Days gone by, the telephone, the cord on the phone was never long enough to get inside the shower, or if it did get wet, that's the end of your telephone. But today, you can buy a shower curtain that will protect your phone and allow you to communicate in the middle of scrubbing down your hair or whatever. You can answer the text message that says, "Good morning." We have to realize this is a device to communicate. You will notice the group on the right, that's today's young people's way of chatting in a group where you're probably used to sitting around, maybe drinking tea, conversing with family members, in the traditional way, human to human. We've allowed this device. We've also allowed it to control us. The problem is that when it rings today, if you go to the next slide, please, and when it rings today, we automatically believe that we must jump, grab it, and answer it, because they might not call back later. Well, if they really wanted you, they will call back later. If it's important, they will call back later. Or even better, folks, again, in the interest of protecting yourself, keep a barrier between you and the person you do not know. And you will do that often. You do it in your own home. That's why you have a front door. You lock the front door because you don't want people uninvited to step into your home. When the doorbell rings, you may, and I hope you do, you walk up to it and you look at the little peephole to see who's on the other side. Or you look through a window to see who's standing at the door, to confirm that you want to invite them into your home. If you don't want them to invite them into your home, you leave the door locked. But yet, every time this thing rings, we grab it and we invite them into our world by just saying hello in whatever language. You have just provided 4 key pieces of personal information to whomever is calling, and you have no idea why they are calling. First and foremost, you've just told them that the telephone number to which they are calling is an active number. Fraudsters get a list of telephone numbers. I have no idea where they get them, but they have a list. They just work themselves down those numbers to try to find a human tied to that number. They have no idea whether it's a good number or a bad telephone number until it's answered. You've just told them it's good. You just told them that at that time of day, somebody will answer the telephone. What happens sometimes with people who want to break and enter into someone's home is that they will call ahead to see if someone is actually home. If you answer, chances are they're not going to. Maybe that's why they're calling. You've also given away your gender. Your voice obviously is indicative of your gender. And the other part of it is you give your age demographic. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, call your children and say hello. You're going to recognize the age difference than if you call a little one versus a teenager. As we mature in life, our voice changes. It constantly changes. And most people can recognize an elderly person, a senior, on a telephone just by listening. But when I called you, when I'm the fraudster and I had no idea who I was calling, and ultimately for what reason, other than the fact I want to trap you into a fraud, by saying hello, hola, good morning, whatever, you have given that away. When it call display, do not assume that the call display is a local number, 647-289. They steal these numbers. They have the ability to fake the number. Again, if it doesn't come up on your call display as someone you know in your contact, let it go to the answering machine. If you haven't seen one of these, you can still buy them in an electronic store. They're pretty inexpensive. I was used to look at them like $35. Or every cell phone carrying company offers voicemail. Allow it to ring to that answering machine or to the voicemail. When you pick up the telephone, you don't recognize that number, let it go. And if you don't get notification within 1 to 2 minutes, there's a voicemail there, they didn't want to talk to you. There was no reason for them to really call. But what you've done is you've created that barrier between you and them. And if they do leave a message, you can play it back and then think about it. If it's someone on the end claiming it to be the Canadian Revenue Agency or somebody on the end claiming to be from immigration and they start to threaten you, delete the message. You've not put yourself at harm's way. They haven't had the ability to try to catch you and trap you with threats and fear of being deported, whether they're coming to collect taxes. They're not giving you instructions to go to Home Depot to buy a gift card to pay your tax bill. You haven't contacted them. You haven't connected with them. And as long as you don't connect with them, they can't catch you and trap you into something that is going to cause you a lot of heartache financially, emotionally, and stress-wise. Let it go to voicemail. When you do your voicemail or your answering machine message, always best just use what comes with the device. You go, but it's not very personal. Completely the reason why you do it. So often, and you probably have experienced it, where you've telephoned someone and the message is, hi, you just called Martin at 123-456. Well, if I'm a fraudster, I didn't call Martin, and I didn't call maybe 123 because I just threw a bunch of numbers in, but I now know there's Martin and he's associated to 134. Do not make that connection. Do not say your name. Do not give your telephone number out. If you must create your own, it's not I, singular person, it's we. Even those people who are single in life, that is fine. But for the purposes of your message, say we. That way, they have no idea, whomever is calling, that there is not a group of people living or connected to that telephone number. Always to consider for the ladies, try not to do a message using your voice, definitely not your name, because you don't know why they're calling. Yeah, it's always good. Use what comes with the device. Yes, it's a little electronic, a little impersonal. You can be personal when you call them back because you know who's calling, or the opportunity to be personal is later. But for the purposes of protecting yourself from that potential fraud, use those devices. We all use electronic means. That's how you're here today. That computer. What an amazing device. It used to be the size of a football field almost to do basic math. Today, you carry it under your arm. You got it in your telephone. This little space does so much. But to protect you, they're always asking, if you could flip the slide, please. They're always asking for passwords, and you go, oh my goodness, so many passwords, so many passwords. I can't remember these all. But when you do a password, they want you to make it numbers, small letters and capital letters and characters, and it's, oh my goodness. So as an example, I'm going to throw up here is the 12th of December, 1959. I grabbed that because that could be somebody's birthday. Bad. Never pick a birthday of yourself, your spouse, your loved ones, your children, not even your dog. No birthdays, folks. No 1, 2, 3, 4. Bad. No 9876. Bad. Okay. I'm going to show you the next slide, I believe, does it? You will see there's two charts showing there. If you look closely between 2021 on the left and 2022, these charts show how quickly using computers they can break into and breach passwords. If you look down the left, it tells you how many digits. So how many numbers, letters, whatever, characters. And look at line 9 that I've used the arrow. It used to take, when you mixed up small letters, capital letters, and numbers, you used to take 3 days for a computer to breach you. In 1 year, the technology has advanced so much, it is now down to 7 hours. Who has that time? Well, the computer has that time. They don't need to stop for the washroom breaks, the coffee breaks, to eat. The computer just keeps working until it breaks you or breaks the password. So the key thing you want to be is further down. You want to be somewhere around the 14 digits or longer. And you go, oh my goodness, I have a problem remembering 1, 2, 3, let alone 14 digits. And there are so many places. I got my banking, I've got my cell phone, I've got Amazon. So here's a thought for you. If you flip the slide for me, please. When you create them, think of what's called a passphrase, not a password. It's not singular. Pick something in life that works for you. It could be a part of your favorite song. It could be something you just repeat all the time because that's what you do. For my example, I grabbed time passes. It is just arbitrarily picked for the purposes of this exercise. You will notice that I use capital on the T and the P and an underscore between the two words. That's 11 characters. Not so bad if you compare that chart. Now, it becomes my foundation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that as my basis to build my passphrases for my various uses. So if you could flip the next one. So in my cell phone, for whatever reason, I need to put a passphrase in. All right, I stay with time passes, and when I pick up my cell phone, I remember that people call me. My cell phone tells me somebody's calling. So I use the word calling in front of my passphrase. I'm now up to 19 characters. Well, if you would go back to the chart, you will find that that's literally years of computer technology as it stands today. Yes, computer technology is advancing, but you know what? They're going to move on to another one, someone less challenging. They're going to go look for the 1, 2, 3 of the birth dates. RBC Bank, what's my online banking? When I deal with RBC, I'm thinking of money. So time passes while I'm sitting in front of my computer. Yes. And I'm dealing with my money. There's your clue. There's the addition to your basic phrase, time passes. And it now takes me up to 18 characters, if I counted that correctly. I hope I did. And the idea behind that, again, is use the time passes in front of it. So do Amazon. What do you do with Amazon? Shop. Yes, you spend money at Amazon. I got it. But generally speaking, the idea is to let the device or let where you're going to go and do your online work, let that be a reminder to you at the beginning of your phrase, and just mix up or add on whatever works for you. The longer, the more characters you can make in your passphrase, the harder it is for them to get access to you. If they don't get access to you, you're protected. And if you would look at those, the next chart, it was to show you a comparison. You will notice, look at 18 characters as we just spoke of, and 19 is not even on the chart. And if you were to look way over to the right, 438 trillion years right now with computer technology, they're not going to bother you. They're going to go to somebody else. All right, if you can just pass the next 2 slides, because I already spoke the safety word. I put it at the beginning. I did talk briefly about this. I think I cannot overstress this, folks. It's a lot of people, police officers get caught in this one. So it's not just newcomers to Canada. It is everybody, potentially. Tax time is now. Your income tax return was due for 2021 yesterday, I believe was the cutoff date. So people will start getting responses from the Canadian Revenue Agency. That's why, unfortunately, this particular fraud is about to going to get very, very active. And it remains quite active throughout the year, but it tends to peak between now and June. You will probably get multiple times your cell phone is ringing or your home phone's ringing. You don't recognize who's at the end, and you're being smart now because you thought of what Martin's told you. You let it go to answering machine. There's a very good chance that no message is left. But if a message is left and you hear a mechanical voice saying, I'm calling from the CRA, there's a warrant out for your arrest, there's a file number, they're not going to do it, folks. If the caller says to you and you're actually communicating with them, what is your social insurance number? It's not the CRA. They will not ask you to repeat your social insurance number. And what so happens so often is that they will say, what's your telephone number? If you thought it through, you'd go, well, you just called me, so you must have it. So if you really were the CRA, you would know it. The answer to that, hang up, because it's not the CRA, folks. They will not threaten you. We are not, as police officers, coming to your door to arrest you for not paying your taxes. If there are problems with your taxes, the CRA will send you a letter. They will advise you of concerns and the processes, but they're not going to call you and threaten you on the telephone. Sometimes they do call people But if they're calling you, you've already received letters from them or you've been in communications with them. Again, if they call you, they will ask you for some verification. They will never ask for all 9 digits of your social insurance number because they have it. They may ask you for 3 digits, the first 3, the middle 3, or the last 3, but they will never ask for all 9 because they have it. They won't ask you to confirm your telephone number because they have it. And as I said, and I cannot overstress, they will never threaten you. They will get hired for doing that. You can flip the next 2, please. I quickly talked about, jump that one too. As part of the emergency, it unfortunately happens way too often. I've seen it way too often. And the idea with this particular scam, I talked a little earlier about how important it is, a safety word, and to realize, keep that barrier. Don't answer the telephone. Let it go to answering machine or voicemail. They will call up. If you answer it, they can tell in your voice often through an accent that you potentially are not native to Canada, and then they could very well kick this particular scam into place. Let it be known that if the Canadian Border Services and immigration issues exist, they too can't call you on the telephone. They cannot threaten you on the telephone, nor would they. And they cannot demand immediate payment to keep you in the country. It does not happen. It's not the Canadian way, folks. It will never happen. If it is happening to you, it's a fraud. You're being scammed. At any time you're not sure and you are concerned about your status, let's say, with the Canadian Revenue Agency or Immigration Border Services, for example, never respond to the message, the telephone number that may be on a message, or if you've made the mistake of making that contact with them, that they leave with you. Always research it, Google it, if you would, but find another means to track the number down. Canada, the Canadian government has a great system. You might want to keep track of this. 1-800-O-Canada. 1-800-O-Canada gets you a central location for all government services. If you call 1-800-O-Canada, it doesn't cost you. You tell them you want to speak to the CRA, Canadian Revenue Agency, or Border Services, they will send you and link that telephone call directly to an appropriate office. And from there, you can try to deal with the issue that you're concerned about. And never respond to the number that is left for you. Now, I think this is about time-wise where you want it to be. Do you want me to keep going? I can keep going. I just need a...
Yes, please. Yeah, we still have time, Martin.
Okay.
Thank you so
much. And you wanted to do Q&A at the end, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did quickly harp on this one, introduce this one. Romance scam. Romance is a beautiful thing. We all love it. I love spring. You know, the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and all those wonderful things that come with having someone important enter into your life, or someone in your life that becomes important to you. The unfortunate thing with today's technology is you have absolutely no idea if they're living around the corner or they're thousands and thousands of miles. There's one thing that to be assured of, folks. If you're engaging through the social media platforms, and even those that you probably wouldn't think there'd be problems, like the dating ones that are supported through religious organizations, for example, you would think that they would be safe. The problem is that they all offer free membership for a week or a period of time. And in that time, if the fraudster is able to catch a couple people, they just deal with that, move on for another free 6-day trial under a different name. example. Just because someone is telling you on a computer that they are 6'6", rich oil baron from Abu Dhabi, and that they're interested in you wherever you happen to be here in Canada, the first thing you want to think about is Abu Dhabi, Canada, 11.5-hour flight. Now we're talking long distance here. You're not going to be able to meet for the movie night. You're always going to be talking through the computer. You're always going to be communicating with someone who most often will never turn on their camera. They'll give you reasons such as, oh, it's broken. Well, every computer today, desktop, laptop, comes with a camera. And if it's broken, you can go buy a camera for like $30. They're amazing, today's technology. Very inexpensive. There's no real excuse for anybody that is interested in you and wishes to communicate with you for not having a camera. But they will give you reasons why they can't. They'll send you photos. Absolutely dapper looking gentlemen. Gorgeous ladies. What happens usually with the ladies is they're models, often from Europe, so that you may not recognize them. And for the gentlemen, yeah, they're often soldiers. I don't understand why that is, but a lot of times they're in uniform. Never worked for me, but at any rate, they're often soldiers. Most time, folks, when it relates to this, in all occasions, if it is a romance scam, those photos have been stolen. They've been stolen off of Facebook or some other form of social media platform. If you are in communications with someone and you want to test the photo, there's a few websites you can go to. Google Images, for one, you can upload and do a comparison. TineYe.com permits you to do that as well. You can do a comparison. Pinterest does the same thing. In fact, they have a component within Pinterest, which is a sharing site for pictures, where photos that have been stolen and used in romance scam are posted. So you may see that soldier in uniform. The soldier that originally put the picture up, the oil baron, the female model, they put that up for their purposes. Never did they ever anticipate that somebody would steal them with the intent of both harming your pocket, i.e. they want money out of you, but also your heart. Because that's the biggest damage that occurs with this. People turn to the internet, they use the internet, they set up relationships, and I've seen it as one particular case, the individual had been dating this person for 6 years and have never ever met them. But they've sent them a lot of money. They've sent them money under the belief that one day they're going to connect and life will be happily ever after. It's not going to happen. So not only do they come to the realization, and it's a tough journey, that they've lost thousands and thousands of dollars. And we've had people losing the millions of dollars through romance scams. But also their heart is broken. The emotional trauma that comes with that is quite overpowering. So where a good thing might have come out of that, i.e. having someone come into your life and you're able to bring that joy together that partnerships often does, reality tends to ruin that and cause even more troubles than what you had at the very beginning. Again, if you're dealing with someone over the internet and it's an introductory type situation through a social media platform or even a legitimate website, make sure you're very cautious of what you share with them. Careful what pictures you're sending them. Careful what information you're providing them. avoid your address, and for that matter, your telephone number until you're ready to meet. And if you do set up a meet, do it in a public place. Your local McDonald's, Tim Hortons, something like that. Do not get them coming to your door. That may occur later once you've confirmed that they're an actual human. They actually look like the picture that you saw, or they look like the image that you saw on the video. And then you can decide when it's appropriate for you to let them into your life further. But please be very, very careful of this. It is happening a lot. And again, if you're not quite sure, ask your kids about what's called catfishing. And it's the same thing, just for younger people. It's traditionally just sheer evilness or bullying why that takes place. And all they're doing is trying to trap the young person so that they can have fun with them, which is not fun at all, but and end up succeeding in exactly what they do with a romance scam, is hurting you. So be careful. Always, always, folks, on social media, be careful what you share. Careful those pictures. Remember that your camera on these devices is extremely smart. They will geo print you. So buried in your photo, unless you tell it not to, on every photo you take is where you were standing in the world. It's hidden in code, but it's not too hard to find and the programs that do that are free. And protect yourself. It is so important that you protect yourself, because as much as I'd love to protect each and every one of you, it's impossible and completely impractical. I know RBC goes through a lot of trouble to protect their clients. Extremely important. Great efforts on their part, but they can't protect every one of you. You need to take steps to protect yourself. The first and foremost, put that barrier, close that door between you and that unwanted person. Let your phone go, your telephone go to answering machine or voicemail. That's a big one today. With that, are there any questions?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Detective Franssen, really for shedding, so much light and opening our eyes to, the many different types of fraud that is out there. And really, going into detail for that, going into detail about that for us. Not only did you go into detail, but you were able to provide some resources, which I found very helpful. Even when it came to the password, like you said, the minute, someone has to create a password, everyone jumps, to the 1, 2, 3, 4. And the minute you tell them, well, no, you got to create something a bit longer. Oh, I can't remember that. But really, it's for our own protection. And I really like the examples that you use, maybe a phrase or a lyric that you like, and that's where you can kind of change it up from there. So thank you so much for really sharing that insightful information with us today. I really appreciate that. I do believe we have some questions here, so I'll just pull that up for you.
I see a couple there.
Perfect.
If it's cool, the first one I said, like, I see is what happens if we click on a suspicious link? Well, there's the problem. You just clicked on something you should not have clicked on. Getting text messages all the time. The wonderful thing with this device as well is it allows you to lock the door. Okay, and what I mean by that is if you don't want the person to be a part of your contact, you can delete them. Or more importantly, you can block them. Close the door. So you get a text message. I got one just the other day telling me that I could get my refund. Interesting. A, it didn't tell me what my refund was. B, I don't expect a refund. I'm not looking for a refund. I haven't requested a refund. No legitimate company or government agency has told me that I'm entitled to a refund. But all I got to do is click on this connection. Well, no. What you do then, folks, is you hit the I, if it's an iPhone. I'm not sure about the other platforms. It will show you that telephone number, and you go to the very bottom and it says block caller. And now the problem is gone, in the sense that you will not receive something from them again. The next step is delete. Do not let curiosity get the best of you. Do not touch that link because it could put what's called a Trojan horse, which is hidden programming inside your device, or malware, which is totally intended to destroy your device. Okay, you can have all the protections on the front end of your phone, your face, your thumbprint, but the moment you allow things like that to occur, they get in behind all that. They now have access to everything. And if you've made a mistake, one thing I didn't tell you is never save your password, passphrase to your device. Because if I get beyond that thumbprint, visual recognition, I now have full access, unencumbered access to your bank account because you saved the protection and you made it real easy. You locked the front door, but you left the windows wide open. Don't do it. And how do you tell with social media? Difficult. Very, very difficult. There's a lot of fake sites out there. You want to look extremely close at them. If they're secure, some sites you will see HTTP. If they have that S behind them, there's a better chance, that means secure, better chance they're legit. But look closely at them. Look to see if that's actually how you spell Amazon or the Royal Bank. They may spell Royal with an I, let's say. Okay, you know better, but why would you click on it? So you really have to be cautious. Do not be quick to hit that link. Do not be quick to join a website that you're not sure of. The online shopping fraud, very, very challenging, folks. We've turned to that platform, especially with COVID. It's extremely convenient. I can sit here in my home office and I can buy a car and have it delivered to my door. It's amazing. However, there's a few things problematic with that. First and foremost, again, what so often happens is people will save their password or passphrase onto the device because, hey, I can't remember that. You now know a better way to do it, so you're not going to do it in the future. But if I get your device, I just got in the shopping mall. Thank you very kindly. And most likely, for convenience purposes, you associated a credit card. So all I have to do is shop and it automatically bills the credit card. I don't even need to know the credit card details. Thank you very kindly. Christmas is 365 days a year, all compliments to the fact that you've saved your password on your device. When you're looking at purchases online and you're using a credit card, hopefully you're using a credit card, not a debit card. If you're going to use a credit card, and if you're a regular user of online purchases, get a separate credit card with a substantially reduced amount of money associated. So like $1,000 credit limit. That credit card remains in your home. There's absolutely no need for you to take it out of the home. Hide it in your favorite book in the library. Just put it in the pages of your book somewhere. When you're going to use online, do not save that number onto Amazon or the other platforms. You introduce it each time. If for some reason something goes wrong and that credit card becomes compromised, the worst case scenario would be $1,000 on it versus maybe the one that you use on a regular basis, 10, 20,000 or even more on it. You want to always keep it at home. There is no need for you to carry it around in your wallet because when you're out shopping and you can use the other one. Another benefit to that is if something goes wrong with the other one, it's compromised, you have a backup that will get you by while you're waiting for a replacement card. So you, in fact, are going to have at least 2 credit cards, one for shopping online and one for your daily and other activities.
Right. And definitely, I guess, with the passwords and the credit card, they both go hand in hand. So you want to make sure that, you're not saving those to your device and always entering it every time you have to, that you need to use them. Thank you so much, for all the information that you shared with us today. you know, it was, like I said, it was very insightful. And I think, you know, every time, you know, you hear, you know, topics like fraud, it is very scary. So, you know, thank you for sharing those real life examples as well. And, you know, talk to us about the, you know, the new trends that are happening in fraud, because there's always something new and something evolving. So thank you so much for sharing. I will pass it back to Michelle.
My pleasure. Thank you. And I believe you were going to show them the DRPS website where I put up different bits on that. If they want to learn more about it, they're welcome to it. DRPS YouTube channel.
Sure, Martin. So did you send us the link that we can share with the...
I can put it in the chat right now.